Let's get ready to rumble!
The gloves are coming off.
Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable!
We're about to go full court press.
Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan!
It's time to play ball.
Malone looking for his first hit of the year. He drives one! Deep left field! That goes Upton! Back near the wall! It's out of here! Bartolo has done it! The impossible has happened!
Listen in as we tackle everything in the world of sports right now.
Stay off the weed!
Throw your hat in the ring at 516-572-7440. This is WHPC Sports Talk on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Here we go, May 2nd, 4:01 p.m. Welcome to WHPC Sports Talk here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Michael Merlo, and I'm joined by Joshua Umahi, Ross Levine, and Elijah Blain. A very, very busy Monday coming out of the weekend. A fantastic sports weekend, especially here in New York.
Yes.
Don't let New York get hot in whatever sport we're talking about. But, guys, first off, how are you doing?
I mean, Mike, you mentioned it. New York, the state of New York sport has been, downtrodden for so long. But, Jets and Giants, in my opinion, have a great draft.
Yep,
Yankees and Mets have the best two records in baseball?
Yes.
Yeah,
Really?
in each league.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable weekend, like you said, and we're going to touch on that, the NFL draft in a little bit, and we've got some breaking news in the NFL right now. DeAndre Hopkins, star wide receiver of the Arizona Cardinals, he was suspended for 6 games.
Yeah.
You want to read the tweet quick, Joshua, if you have it up?
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. I just had it. I actually took it down when you mentioned it, but I have it here. Yeah. So, Cardinals Pro Bowl wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins suspended 6 games for violating the NFL performance-enhancing drug policy. 6 games.
There you go.
Crazy.
We'll get more on that in a little bit. The Cardinals did make a big trade in the first round of the NFL draft, so maybe they knew something on Thursday night when they went and acquired Marquise Brown from the Ravens, although Kyler Murray had wanted him for a while, according to a bunch of people.
Played together in college, right?
Yeah, they're good. They're good friends. Yes, they did play together in college, so definitely makes sense. So I do want to start with baseball, though, because there is, big news with our New York Mets, of course. The Mets, first of all, won their 7th straight series to open up the season. That's the first time. 6 straight series was a franchise record, but 7 now, extending that franchise record. They had the no-hitter, the combined no-hitter with 5 pitchers on Friday night.
I was there.
You were there.
My sister was there.
What was it like being in the building?
I probably from the 8th inning on, I figured could actually be a reality. I actually never paid attention to it because nobody really was. And then when you kept feeling it and you saw on the scoreboard no hits, and I was like, wow, this actually could happen.
You know what's funny? Whenever somebody throws a combined no-hitter or I ever get the notification, oh, this team's, has a combined no-hitter, personally, I always say I could care less. If the the Guardians are throwing a combined no-hitter, I don't care as a baseball fan. But if, last season when Joe Musgrove of the Padres was throwing a no-hitter and it was late in the game, I go to MLB TV and I turn that game on and I watch it until it's either done, when it's done, or he throws it. So combined no-hitters don't mean as much to me, but as a fan of that team, it's special. But I don't expect you to go crazy, or if you get the notification to go, I gotta go watch that game. I don't expect that.
Okay, I'm trying not to be a hater. I mean this in the nicest. Just objectively. If this was the Oakland Athletics, I would say this. But 5 pitchers, do you think that's more of the Phillies sucked that day?
No,
really sucked.
Well, the Phillies are a great hitting team.
They are, and that's why it's impressive that they did that because you got to factor in who you're playing, and you have to also factor in. We were all saying that this bullpen's not very good, And guess what? They combined for just as much as Miguel did. So,
yeah, Joelle Rodriguez, he was a part of it, right?
Yes, and
Yeah.
and I was giving up on him. And I'm not in love with him, but he was really good that day. He got the double play ball, which from Alec Boehm
was huge because at that point I was not feeling good. There was a man on first,
A walk.
They had walked, and by the way, I wanted to bring this up a minute ago. Steve Gelbs of SMY talked to JT Realmuto, and JT Realmuto had said they didn't even realize they were being no-hit until the 8th inning. Wow. And this is true because of the at-bats they had. They walked 6 times.
Yeah.
So they were walking. They felt like they had great at-bats, and it didn't feel like they were being no-hit.
Even the outs were like really long counts, 2-2, 3-2 counts. Yeah, throughout the game. So it's not surprising to hear that.
So it's funny because it is impressive because of the team they did it against. It's impressive, especially the way it ended. I mean, I don't think I've seen a more dominant inning from Edwin Diaz since he's been a Met.
I mean, you could definitely point to. I remember there was a game last year. It was against the Blue Jays. He looked really good in that game.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
he looked really good in that game. But yeah, that might have been the best.
3, 4, 5.
Yeah, that's why it's the best. So when you factor in the situation, when you factor in who the hitters you came up, I think that was the best Diaz has ever looked as a New York Met. And I will be honest though, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to jinx it. That's why I didn't say anything. And then when it happened, it was like, oh wow, it happened.
What was the stadium like?
Nobody. I don't think anybody really knew. I don't think anybody was like 5 outs away. Like nobody was ever doing that. Like
until the 9th inning, it was okay, here we go.
It sounded so incredibly charged up just from the videos I watched post game, like on social media. Edwin Diaz. People usually go crazy over like the trumpet song anyway.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was coming in to try to close a no hitter,
and they didn't go. I don't think SMY went to commercial break. They didn't. They didn't. They just played. You heard the trumpets. Narco is the song. And then they just showed Edwin Diaz walking up to the mound. And I was at a restaurant, so I didn't hear what they were saying. I don't know if they were talking over it or whatever, but it was just that on the screen, which was pretty cool. Yeah. But listen, the stadium all weekend sounded louder than I think you would have thought. I don't think they ever eclipsed 30,000 this weekend. Maybe on Saturday night it was the nicest night.
It was packed. When I went, it was packed. Saturday was okay.
Wait, what's the capacity for Citi Field?
Yesterday was packed.
You were there yesterday?
No, but I know, I saw it was pretty packed.
I think they hold 40-something thousand.
Yeah.
Low 40,000.
So like around Yankee Stadium.
The Yankee Stadiums I know is like a few thousand more than Citi Field. But yeah, so that's incredible, but that's not even the biggest news right now, the New York Mets. I mean, yes, you love them taking the series from Philadelphia, which I did not have a good feeling going into last night's game. And, of course, Kyle Schwarber has to do what he does against the Mets. I've never seen somebody in my entire life do what this man does to this team.
I mean, Chipper Jones,
I never saw him.
I know you weren't born yet, but if you see the stats of Chipper Jones against the New York Mets, those stats are ridiculous.
Schwarber's getting close.
Yeah, he's the Mets Altuve to the Yankees.
I think he's got the top. I think he's now second in slugging percentage against the Mets.
I'm telling you, you're going to need Gary Thorne the call and then say like 4 fingers up, just walk. Don't throw to him because you don't throw to him unless it's like 3-run game, nobody on base.
If it's a close game, there's no reason to throw to him. And even the 2 pitches that he hit the home runs off of, the first one was high corner. It was a high fastball in the corner, and he made a nice swing. Okay, you give him credit. Whatever. He got the barrel on the ball, his hands extended, hit a home run. Okay. The second one was, I think, a changeup low in the zone, and he gets on one knee and somehow golfs it out.
Yeah, that's not much you could really, do there. Scherzer, I know he gave up a couple of home runs.
He looked good.
He had 9 strikeouts still. You can't. It's hard to complain with that. And guess what? For very few times we have said this over the Mets' history, or the last at least 4 or 5 years, they picked up for their really good pitcher when he didn't have his best stuff. How many times have we said we've seen that? It's not often.
Not often. It was a cold night, wasn't great, but no excuses. Scherzer was good enough to get them the win, and he did that. He threw a meatball to freaking Harper, which Harper crushed.
But that's Bryce Harper, though.
And he didn't do. My dad said this. He's like, he didn't do anything all weekend, and I'm like, you're right. He hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything all weekend, and that's what he gave up. Okay, I'll deal with it in a 6-3 game at the time to make it 6-4. But anyway, the news I want to get to is Robinson Cano DFA'd by the New York Mets. He is still owed about $37 million for the next 2 seasons.
God.
Thank you very much, Brody Van Wagenen and Jeff Wilpon. But there we go. So Robinson Cano, who was having a terrible, terrible season, now DFA'd. The other options were sending Dom Smith down. He had an option left to go down to AAA. Same thing with J.D. Davis. Same thing with Luis Guillorme. Or they could have released Travis Jankowski. But this was clearly the best move. And I do want to read this tweet. Hold on 1 second. I want to read this tweet from Anthony DiComo, Tony, as they call him. He said, oh, come on, here we go. Billy Epler says he presented various scenarios to Mets owner Steve Cohen and told him the baseball operations department recommendation regarding Robinson Cano. He also relayed the financial impact of all avenues. Cohen's response, make the baseball decision. The baseball decision was to release Robinson Cano because there was no other scenario which made sense, Met fans. That's music to our ears.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's. I know, like, it's bittersweet because you wanted to see Cano really good as a New York Met once he first got there. But here's the reality, though. He wasn't doing that.
He's done.
He's done. He clearly shot as a player. Like, I know that seems like it's a harsh reality, but that's reality. And let's be honest, though, this regime didn't trade him or trade for him. They didn't. I mean, that was Brody Van Wagenen. Steve Cohen, Billy Epler did not do that. They have no ties to Cano. You could say you like them all you want. You could say Showalter likes them all. Well, at the end of the day, they did not agree to that trade. So, at the end of the day, it's the right decision to move on. In terms of leadership, I have no concerns. They have enough leaders there.
I don't think any team is going to run to sign Robinson Cano.
No.
So do you just hire him as a coach or an advisor?
I thought about that.
Maybe. But even that, I just don't. He didn't perform here, and I think that's it. And maybe he did try. Maybe he wanted to impress. I'm sure he wanted to. When I watched him at the plate, he didn't look like he tried. That's just my opinion. Like, this year, he didn't try, in my opinion.
He did. First of all, the steroids, what are they going to do? They're going to help you work out. They're going to help you feel better and look a little bigger, especially when you're able to work out more, right? I don't know exactly what happens with steroids, but that's my understanding. If you look at him, he does not look like a 39-year-old that is fighting for his life, fighting for his baseball life in shape. He's not in shape. That's the first thing I noticed. And he can't make contact with the ball.
Well, he's just rolling over pitches. That's all he's doing.
So nothing's there. This was it. And this was brought up before, and I heard this about his leadership, and Francisco Lindor came to his defense over the weekend, which, honest to God, I love Lindor. I think he's been great. I didn't love this. Like, you got to say, listen, I love Robbie. Robbie's a mentor to me. But at the end of the day, whatever decision they make is going to be the right one.
Yeah.
You can't really come out in public defense for Robinson Cano. This was the right move. And if this move right here ruins whatever, the great culture you have right now and the leadership you have in this locker room, then you never really had it.
Yeah.
That's a fact. It was never really that good to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a clear right move. The one question I have is if Dom Smith, who has a big game yesterday, do you think there's any chance they use that last option, send them down to salvage Cano for maybe another couple of weeks? Do you think that was even a possibility?
It would have made the decision a little harder.
Okay.
But ultimately, there was nobody else that can play first base, and I don't think the Mets, this regime, trusts Alonso as first as they say they do.
I agree. They're playing him at DH, so they clearly don't have a lot of faith in him.
And by the way, if Smith starts to hit, I want to see a platoon at first base. I want to see, 2 to 3 nights, Dom Smith starting at first with Pete Alonso at DHing. And then if there's a lefty and you're not starting Smith, okay, Alonso plays first. And I'm not saying Alonso should be in the lineup every night. I'm not saying he should platoon. I'm saying that he shouldn't start at first base every night. Because Dom is a much better defender at first base.
Yeah, I mean, and I totally agree with your point in terms of just the leadership, mentioned. Like you'd never gonna have you'd never had one, as you're saying. Like,
right, you never had a good nucleus.
Yeah,
if Robinson Cano was the one holding it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a fact, and And also, look, he didn't perform. That's the main reason why he's not on the team anymore. He didn't perform. He was hitting under 200. I mean, that's the. It's the same reasoning like even after last season when with McNeil. It's the same thing. And McNeil shut me up. He's been outstanding for the Mets this year. He's batting 360.
One of the greatest decisions not made.
Yeah,
getting rid of him.
And I was all over him last year. I was like, get rid of this guy. He's clearly not a fit for New York. And I was like, that whole thing with McNeil and Lindor, that was going to get in the way. Well, he shut me up. Cano, not really.
Nothing.
He clearly didn't do anything to warrant him staying on the team. And look, at the end of the day, you need to move on. It's best for both parties to move on. There was never a reason for him to stay on the team.
Yeah.
In terms of Dom Smith, and I know he had that great game yesterday, I actually had a trade in mind before that game of Dom Smith, and I'm still on that boat of trading him. Dom Smith for Mark Melancon. That's the trade I had because Mark Melancon fits what they need. They need a bullpen arm. They need to fix that bullpen as badly as you possibly can, as fast as you can.
Well, Ross, we talked about the bullpen a lot, but I actually saw a stat. I think the Mets are, 8th in the entire major leagues in bullpen ERA now.
Really?
So, yeah, it's crazy to say considering some of the performances we've seen, but they've been real good lately. And if that continues, then maybe you're not as urgent. Not trying to get an arm as urgent as you are.
I don't trust him.
I don't trust him either, and that's why I've always mentioned it because I look at it like this: if you want to win a World Series, you're going to need a great bullpen.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
Yeah, I was just thinking like these teams, the Dodgers, they always have like one guy more than they need. So like those World Series teams, just in case you have to have, a guy who can come in and be a good bullpen pitcher.
No, they need another arm. They may need 2 more arms in that pen. They have pitched well. But, trusting Trevor May in a big situation cannot happen anymore.
No, and it's funny because before they were saying on the broadcast like he doesn't want to be part of the problem. You are the problem, though. That's just reality. When you have an 80 array, I mean, you are the problem. And look, it's why I've said if that means trading Dom Smith to get help with the bullpen, you do it. Because I look at let's say you trade Dom Smith to the Diamondbacks. Because the Diamondbacks are terrible. Like, they could use a guy like Dom Smith. It makes more sense for them. He's going to get so much more at-bats there than he would here.
Yeah, I just don't know if right now is the time to do it.
But
I agree. Listen, I 100% agree with you. He has to. They're going to have to add to the bullpen, and I know it's only May, but
you got
the month of May. But I agree. It's going to be a position of need. I wouldn't rush to it just yet. Just yet.
I mean, there's guys out there. David Robertson. I know, he's older, but that's a guy. I mean,
aside from teams like the Diamondbacks or the Nationals, I know Tanner Rainey is having a fantastic season to start the year.
What about Sean Doolittle?
Sean Doolittle. I don't know if an interdivision trade would be made, but a lot of these teams, it's only May, so they're not going to be so. But I don't think they're going to want to make a trade like that. That almost seems like they're bowing out already. I don't think they're going to make that trade yet.
But no, I 100% agree. You never see trades before this early. But if you let's say, I know we can't ask a general manager this, or like on the Nationals or on the Diamondbacks, but they know they're not good.
Yes.
I mean, they kind of. I mean, I know they're not going to publicly say it, but they know in the back of their mind we're going to be pretty bad.
I agree with you. I also think they're getting ready. They're looking at their rosters and they're saying, okay, which guys are going to be valuable to teams that are contending in a month or two.
But right now,
I agree.
You have to keep up appearances right now if you're the Diamondbacks and the Nationals. You can't really trade your guys in May. I think that's more of a June thing.
I mean, look, and trust me, they're gonna. When it gets to the deadline, you're gonna see a lot of bullpen guys being out there. Heck, you might see stars be out there. Who knows? Juan Soto, they might listen to call.
Yeah,
I have no idea. But
We're gonna listen. We got a while for that, and teams are gonna drop out, and teams are gonna jump right back in. The Braves are 10-13, and they've had the easiest schedule so far this season. They're gonna be fine. They're gonna figure it out. They come to New York to play the Mets for a 4-game set doubleheader tomorrow, so that should be a very interesting series. The Mets have had struggles with the Braves over the past few years, and this is the defending champs, the defending division champs for a couple of years in a row now. So let's see how the Mets fare against them. And Acuna's back. And by the way, last thing on the Mets, how good has Tyler McGill been?
Oh, he's been insane.
He's made you forget about Jacob deGrom.
He's like the same story as Jacob deGrom. I mean, not deGrom, but he's a similar story, and he's been unbelievable. I mean, I never saw this coming. I knew he was good.
Yeah,
I never saw this.
Exactly. I knew he'd have a good season, but this, I mean, where he's basically doing a deGrom impersonation every game.
Yeah,
and just looking at the Mets as a whole here, I'm so impressed. Again, they've won 7 straight series to open the season. And we mentioned deGrom. That's like the last thing I'm waiting on. If he comes back and he's healthy and he's Jacob deGrom, get the train rolling.
But with the way the guys are pitching right now, it's like, Jake, come back.
Take your time, bro.
Whenever you want, Jake. Whenever you want. 516-572-7440 is the number to join. 516-572-7440. We're going to talk some Yankees. You are listening to WHPC Sports Talk here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Michael Merlo. I'm alongside me. I've got Joshua Umahi, Ross Levine, and Elijah Blain. Yankees are rolling 9 straight wins for the Bronx Bombers after a sweep of the Kansas City Royals. And I've seen this on Twitter. I just want to say this to haters. Winning 9 straight games against anybody is difficult.
Easy.
The Dodgers lost to the Tigers over the weekend.
And the Diamondbacks, they lost 2 out of 3 at one point.
They lost 2 out of 3 to the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks beat St. Louis over the weekend as well. The Nationals beat the Giants, even though they're dealing with COVID issues. So 9 straight wins against anybody is impressive. And this team now has the best record in baseball, and they are rolling. And they're going into Toronto for a big series versus the Blue Jays.
Yeah, look, I don't know if they're a World Series team, the Yankees. I have no idea. I'm leaning towards no, but they're definitely a playoff team.
I don't know how you can say no with how our pitching is doing right now.
Yeah,
and I think we're going to add someone at the deadline.
But here's the thing, though. And again, I agree, Matt, with the whole idea that you won 9 in a row. That's great. That's fantastic, and the pitching's been really good. However, it's going to get tested against the Blue Jays lineup. I know the Blue Jays have been scuffling a little bit with their offense, but
still 15-8.
Yes, and you're playing teams like the Royals, and the Royals don't have a lot. Like, it's easy to face those teams. Again, 9 in a row is fantastic, but it's easy to play those teams and not the Blue Jays. It's different.
You know what's
a lot different.
I'm on the opposite end of you.
It's going to be good, the pitching. I'm just telling you, it is not good teams we're facing.
Right, and I think the pitching is going to be fantastic and a strong suit for this team moving forward. I'm more worried about the offense against a good team than the pitching against the bad versus good teams. I think the pitching is going to be there all season long. Yeah. I do. Now, you can make the argument with Cole. His only 2 good starts were against bad offenses. That's another argument for another day. Otherwise, everybody else, I trust for the most part. I can't believe I just said those words, but I did. The offense, to me, it came alive against bad pitching.
Yes.
They didn't face one good pitcher.
Yeah,
not one good pitcher.
Orioles have terrible pitching.
Orioles, Royals. I mean, did they face Bieber?
I don't know if we faced Bieber.
They didn't face Bieber. Okay, so you didn't face much, over the past 9 games.
And the bullpen that they faced are terrible. Like, it's really bad. The Orioles bullpen's terrible. The Royals bullpen's bad. I mean, they have like one decent reliever, but after that, it's not much.
And if what we saw earlier in the season, before the 9-game winning streak with the offense, was just them trying to get going, then that's what it was. And now they've gotten going, and they're ready to go, and they will steamroll into Toronto and beat them and have a good offensive series. I don't expect them to sweep them, but the thing I want to see is consistency from this offense. If the offense is consistent, then this team is going to be a World Series team. But if it's like it was last season, it's more of the same.
Look, our division is tough. We have the Royals. We don't have the Royals. We have the Blue Jays. We have the Rays. How the Rays are?
The Rays are. I think they're done. I'm sorry. Like,
I wouldn't write them off right now.
I'd write the Red Sox off before I write the Rays off.
I agree with that. And look, the Rays, to me, I think their luck is out. I really do. I think their luck is done. Because if you watch that team consistently, without Austin Meadows on that team, they're just not good. They're not that good. They're even their pitching's not been that good either. I mean, it really hasn't been. The Red Sox, this was inevitable.
Yeah. It is like every couple of years, not every couple of years, like every year they have that one bad year, and then they just bounce up and have a good year. I think this is a bad year.
Yeah.
With the Red Sox.
And
last year, they kind of showed you this wasn't going to be sustainable for...
Yeah. Everyone had a career year last year for the Red Sox.
I mean, not their bullpen. Their bullpen was not great last year in the second half. And it was very good in the first half. They're saying they fell off a cliff. I mean, you got to remember, they had Adam Ottavino, who is not very good. Their best reliever is Garrett Whitlock. That's it.
Right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's it. They had Matt Barnes, that contract's a disaster.
They gave him that extension in the middle of last season, and that does not look good. You're 100% right about that.
Yeah, they should have. I know it's money more in quarterback. They should have kept Kimbrel. Should have done it.
Yeah. I mean, so what do you even do? Do you start selling off?
They're not going to start selling off yet.
Yeah.
But with the way the division's going to go, and they're going to see, earlier this week, starting tonight, what they're going to have to beat, and they were just in Toronto, and I don't think they play. I think they lost the series.
They lost they lost 2 of 3. They lost a heartbreaker to the Rays in that whole no-hitter thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they lost a couple over the weekend to the Orioles. Did they lose the series to the Orioles?
Yeah, they lost the series to the Orioles.
I'm telling you, they're done.
They're not a very good team, so this could be so very surprisingly, a 2-team race at the top of the AL East.
I wouldn't have predicted that earlier this season.
I don't think the Rays are done. I think the Rays will make this a little interesting toward the end of the year. But we're just going to have to see. I do want to spend some time on the Yankees, though, because, again, the offenses came alive. Aaron Judge, I think he's homered in 7 of his last 8 games.
Yep.
Yeah, he's been good.
The offer we gave him, earlier this season, I think he's lived up to it now. But I think he wants more, so...
He might surpass it the way he's going, though.
Yeah.
He's on an absolute tear. I think he has his average up to 300 now. Slugging 663, I'm looking at it now. Absolute tear, and it's funny. I hate to be this guy, but Joey Gallo goes out of the lineup consistently, and the Yankees' offense completely turned around.
Yeah. I mean, he had a couple of good hits against the Guardians. But
I thought he played well against the Orioles.
Yeah.
And he had a couple of games against Baltimore that were good.
But, that's the Orioles and the Guardians.
Yeah,
look up his...
Exactly.
Let me know what his stats are, if you're on Baseball Reference.
Gallo?
Yeah.
They were so streaky
favorite.
last
I just wanted... Because I remember I checked before he hit the home run, the day or two before he hit the home run. I'm curious what they are now.
There's a stat. It's hard hit balls. I forgot the actual. It's like ex-WOBA or something like that. I don't think that's what it is.
Expected weighted on base average.
Yes.
Jeez.
It was pretty high for him, and I think it's starting to the balls are starting to drop. I don't think he's still a consistent member of this offense at all.
No.
But I mean, if he can get just doubles and singles, then that's fine. I don't need him to hit home runs.
So you take anybody in this lineup.
516-572-7440. You want to talk about the Yankees, the Mets, anything? Please join the show. I disagree with you, Elijah. You signed this guy, you traded this guy to hit home runs at Yankee Stadium. He doesn't hit for a high average.
But I'm just saying, though, I agree. Gallo's got to hit some home runs.
He's got to.
He has to. But the team itself, if they get back to that home run strikeout way, they're not going to win.
It's not a winning formula.
You have to get Gallo back to being a major league hitter before you get it back doing anything else.
Yeah.
But that starts with singles and doubles.
What's his numbers?
He's slashing 180, 275 OBP, 295 slugging. I mean, that's not what you want.
500 OPS.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't hit above 190 as a Yankee, I believe.
No.
What's his? If you go to you're on Baseball Reference.
Yeah.
If you're on the bottom, just scroll to the bottom. It give you the stats as a Yankee.
Yes. Stats as a Yankee. Yep. Yeah. Batting in the 170s as a Yankee since he got there. So
yeah, I mean,
he's not an average hitter, but again, you would expect the guy to be above the Mendoza line at least.
he's an analytical darling because he gets on base and he has a high slugging percentage. He's not going to hit for an eye
But
average.
he hasn't been getting on base that
He's not
much.
doing any of that.
Yeah.
He's not. He has not been a major league ball player this year.
No.
I mean, listen, again, if his batting average was low and the power numbers were there, like this is what we expect from this guy, and we expect him to get on base. His average is low. What did you say, 180?
180.
180. So, okay, even if it was 180.
Yeah, that's fine if you're like hitting home runs, have a high slugging percentage, high OPS. He doesn't have any of that.
You better be good defensively, otherwise.
And he hasn't been great defensively either.
You better be good at all those other things, otherwise it looks ugly.
Dude, I'm not going to go as far as saying a lot of Yankees fans want Brett Gardner back. Even Phil Hughes tweeted it this morning.
Crazy.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. But if this keeps up, I think we're going to have to add another bat in July if we want to be contenders.
They're scoring runs now, though, and they're fine.
If they
But-
continue to score runs the way they are, like they did, like they have in this 9-game winning streak, you're not going to have that problem. But again, I want to see the runs. Again, not worried about the pitching. I want to see them score runs against good teams.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Look, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but let's just say they play 10-game stretch against really good teams and they go 3-7, something like that. There's going to be questions about, who you really beat, how much of that winning streak legit, because now the competition rises.
And that's what you're supposed to do against good teams. I remember we recorded a show a couple weeks ago after they lost the series to the Orioles, and we were talking about this 15-game stretch, 2 series against the Orioles, 1 against the Guardians, 1 against the Tigers, 1 against
Kansas City.
And we said, how many wins do we need out of those 15 games for you to feel good about the Yankees?
And you said,
we said 10 to 11 games.
They won 12.
They won 12 of them.
Right.
12 games
12
they won of
games.
those.
So
that's impressive.
They did, and they did what they had to do. There's you're not going to get a barbecue because you beat all these teams like Kansas City. But you did what you needed to do. Now it rises. If you struggle against good teams, there's going to be questions how legitimate was the winning streak. I remember last season they had a 13-game winning streak, and they kind of fell apart after that. And they lost in the wild card game. So you got to see how legitimate it is. I worry when this team loses just one game, what happens? Because you saw it last year. They were so streaky. After a couple,
So streaky.
They were so streaky. After they lost 1 or 2 games, you saw it they just didn't look like they'd blow and be on the field.
No,
you saw it.
It was crazy because I remember seeing a graph on Yes, it was literally like a roller coaster, and their records. They had they'd go through a stretch where they were fantastic, and they go through a stretch where they were not very good.
This is when the Yankees are at their worst. I was just looking at their schedule. Luckily it's not anytime soon. It's late August, but when the West Coast trips kill this team. When we go to what's it called?
Oakland.
Whatever they call it, Oakland, Los Angeles, Anaheim. That bats just die there. So we just need consistent hitting throughout that stretch.
They weren't consistent offensively last season.
Yeah.
That was one of the main issues with this team. They have to be consistent. You have to be consistent offensively. Obviously, teams are going to run into, they're going to get cold. That's obvious that you're going to get cold, but you need to just kind of settle down.
Yeah.
Don't rely on the home run so much, if possible. Don't rely on the home run so much.
Elijah, you referenced the schedule, and again, they play 2 series with the Blue Jays and the White Sox this month. After that, it's not a lot. I mean, you're playing the Rangers, the Orioles again.
Yeah.
You got the Twins in here, I think, the Tigers. So it's not a lot of great teams, but this is a great opportunity for the Yankees to continue what they've been doing. Continue to beat up on the bad teams, and then when those tougher series come in June, July, and maybe it'll be half and half Yankee fans now. You'll say you're a championship contender. Well, then you can beef up your record a little bit. See who's available on around the trade deadline. Then you can get this thing rolling.
Good teams beat up on the bad teams.
Yeah,
that's what they do.
Yeah,
you just don't want to. I don't know where it. It's not like we're criticizing them. They did exactly what they had to do. They've been great. It's just win these games.
We've seen this before.
Go to Toronto, and even if you don't take 2 out of 3, but you played incredibly well and you won one of them, okay, obviously you want to see the results.
Toronto is very hard to play in. I think it's the hardest baseball park to play in my opinion.
If Toronto starts to get their offense going, they're scary.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to get the offense going. You would hope at some point for their sake.
Well, you
that
would have
it
to
might.
think so, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think at some point. Look, the Yankees shut them down in Yankee Stadium. So
Well, not Vlad. He kind of killed us.
but that's Vlad. But everybody else, I mean, they did pretty well. I mean, look, maybe the Blue Jays adjust to the end. I have no idea. I mean, you never know with hitters and pitchers. But what I do know is that the Blue Jays have the potential to be the best offense in baseball. The question is, are they going to be there? I think they can get there, but right now they're middle of the pack.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I believe that this Toronto team is going to take off.
Yeah.
I think this team is. This is my World Series team. This is who I have winning it all. I expect them to. Pitching. I mean, their pitching is. Gosman's been really good to start the season.
He was very good against the Astros.
He was great yesterday. Barrios has to play. Pitch a little better, but this team's going to be there 100%. All right. Mets tonight against the Braves. Max Fried, Chris Bassett. Tonight, Tyone starting.
Yeah.
Versus.
I thought it was Montgomery.
You're right. It's Montgomery against. Do you know?
I do not
Ross
know.
Stripling.
Ross Stripling. Okay, so bottom of the rotation guys for both. We'll see how that goes in Toronto. And like I said, Mets. Bassett versus Fried. That's a great pitching matchup tonight at Citi Field. So,
Can I complain about something?
what is it? What is it about baseball?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apple TV is terrible.
Oh, you had your first experience.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yes.
It's.
Welcome to the club.
Do you know what? I like the graphics a lot. I think the graphics are pretty cool.
They're great. It's very.
I think
HD,
it's like best
great.
in the industry.
Yes.
But
Like the score bug too, by the way.
they literally picked the commentators off of the street.
You got to watch some games on mute at this point.
No, they're not
that bad.
good.
Listen to radio. That's the way to do it.
Oh. John Sterling.
I'm not listening to John
No, Howie
Sterling.
Rose. If you're watching a Met game,
Oh yeah.
listen to Howie.
I mean, even last night you could have done that with Sunday Night Baseball. I didn't love the new broadcast last night, and I was talking about it before. I don't know if it's because when I'm watching my team, I'm so used to Gary, Keith, and Ron, and they're so good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wasn't a fan last night. And David Cohn said something really freaking stupid. Did you hear what he said about Met fans? So, Carl Ravitch asked the question, who honestly, I thought I liked Carl Ravitch, and I don't think he's doing a great job. But he had said, is this a Met town or a Yankee town?
Oh, I know what you're talking.
And Cohn goes, well, I'll tell you right now, when the Mets are playing well and when they get good, a lot of these Met fans come out of the woodworks.
So now we're bandwagoners.
Now we're fair weather fans. Please,
Mets fans, all
David Cohn. I don't
pitch for the Mets.
I don't know many fair weather Met fans.
No.
I mean, Cohn just stay with the Yes Network, and that's just called that.
He's but he's
Or
really
Fox,
good
whatever.
during the game. Like when
good,
he's
but
analyzing.
He's a bit of a homer. He's a little bit of a homer.
When he's analyzing the game of baseball, he's good. I like him on Yes. I think he's the best in the booth there. When he's doing, even the Sunday night games, I think he's the best in the booth there as well. But that comment, man, to make about Met fans, that's just not true. That is just not true.
Like, you played baseball in the city. Like, I don't understand how you could say it's like a Knicks-Nets dynamic, where when the Nets are good, all these fans come out of the woodworks, and no, when the Mets are good, it could be a Mets town. Same thing with the Yankees.
And he
Like,
did
they play
say,
baseball here.
He did say that, though. He goes, and becomes a National League town. Yes. I think it's just more that we are louder, maybe, when we're better.
That's everybody.
But I don't think we're fair weather fans. I don't think at all.
I'm the biggest Yankees homer here. I disagree with Cone. I think Mets fans are always loud. They always voice their opinions, and I think they're a little bit louder when they win. But that's the same with us. I mean, like when 2015 World Series year, the Mets they dominated the conversation. Like during the city,
They were more fun.
Yeah, they were more fun. They were more watchable. We had A-Rod hitting 30 home runs. Not an entertaining year. So it's just
I don't
whoever
understand.
wins
I don't
at this
understand
point.
that comment. I
Well,
really don't.
Well, him and Michael Kay are probably text messaging about that. That's probably why. I mean, I don't know. They're average to me. I mean, I like Cone when he calls games, I think, or like when he's like the analyst. But I don't know. Him and Ruco are good. Him and Kay are just I don't know. It's average.
All right. Let's get to the NFL a little bit. 516-572-7440, the number to join. Giants fans, Jet fans, any fans, please call up. You are listening to WHPC Sports Talk here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. All right, weekend's over. You had NBA playoffs, you had baseball, and you had the NFL draft. Crazy weekend, like we opened up with. Comes to an end. We have this breaking news from DeAndre Hopkins. He's going to be suspended 6 games, violating the PDs.
Yeah.
So, not good for the Cardinals, although they did trade for Marquise Brown. And this may have something to do with it. They probably knew on Thursday that this suspension was coming down. And you had the breaking news before. The Honey Badger is signing with your Saints, Josh.
Yeah. Listen, I'm a football fan, Louisiana. I love LSU. I love the Saints. So when this broke through, and I've been crying about this for years. Like, I was the biggest Tyrann Mathieu fan when he was in LSU, when he was, running kickoffs back and contending for the Heisman. I'm like, please get him to the Saints. Please, please, please. I wanted him back in 2019 when he was a free agent, signed with the Kansas City Chiefs, immediately won a Super Bowl. So I was even a little more in my feelings, but he's here now. And again, we lost Marcus Williams to the Ravens. That's a big loss, but when you bring in another top 10 safety in this league, it definitely softens the blow a little bit. I love this signing.
It'll probably be a little cheaper, and your Saints had a nice draft, I thought, adding Trevor Penning, who you were a little worried about that.
Yeah,
and,
listen, we got a receiver, though. We got a receiver, so I was good with the tackle after that.
You got Olave, yeah. I mean, it was interesting. They kind of set themselves up, very quickly here on the Saints. They set themselves up to go for it a little bit this year. But also, you get a young receiver for whatever quarterback you're going to have here next, and a young left tackle. So I thought they were 2 good moves. I thought the Jets and Giants, that's what everybody's talking about. I thought they had the best drafts. Do you guys have your 5 best teams that you thought did the best?
In terms of like their best drafts?
Best drafts. I'll give you a minute to think about it. We'll come back to it.
Off the top of my head, I could give you mine right now.
All right.
I'll go Jets, Giants, 2 New York teams.
Okay.
Ravens, I thought, had a really great value draft.
Oh, they're the best draft.
They killed it.
I thought they had the best draft.
Amazing what they did. And then the Lions, they got Hutchinson at 2, really safe pick. And then you trade up to get Jameson Williams.
Yes.
That too,
So you've already said my 4. Okay.
The 5th one I got to think about a little bit. I want to be a homer and say the Saints.
Okay.
But
I'd rather you say them.
I'll go with the Saints, yeah.
Okay. 5. All right.
Yeah, I'd probably would say the Giants. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to say Jets number 1.
Okay.
Giants number 2. Ravens I thought were really good. I thought the Lions did a pretty good job. And probably the 5th team, that's a tough one. I'm going to say, for some reason, I'll probably regret it. I actually liked who had the 3rd overall pick.
The Texans.
Yeah, I thought the Texans did a decent job. I thought they did okay.
You guys haven't said my 5th team. Elijah, you got 5 quick, or should I take the call first?
You could take the call, yeah.
All right, caller, you are on WHPC Sports Talk. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Charlie from Floral Park. Who's better than me?
What's up, Charlie?
All right. I love the way you guys are just so into the draft, and you really analyze the heck out of it. I am a Vegas Raiders fan.
Okay.
Going back to the 2nd Super Bowl when the quarterback was named Darryl LaMonica. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, actually does.
He just passed away. Had the greatest nickname of all. Anybody?
I do not know it.
The Mad Bomber.
Oh, yeah.
The Mad Bomber.
That's a nice nickname.
So how did my Raiders do in the draft?
They didn't have their 1st-round pick, but if we're going to use what they got, for trading their 1st-round pick, they did pretty well. They got the best receiver in football.
Yeah,
so
good.
Maybe they were 5th ahead of the Texans. I'll say that. Maybe the Raiders. I'll put my 5.
I'm just trying to think. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know who they took. Did they have a 2nd-round pick?
I think
They had only a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah.
That was their earliest pick.
Charlie, honest to God, I can't really tell you how they did because they didn't pick in the first 2 rounds. But again, you got the best wide receiver in football, so I don't think you're going to be, crying over this.
All right, that's good. I mean, it's been a while since we won. Back in 2002, I think we got creamed by Tampa Bay. And also, I wanted real briefly to touch on the dumpster fire that is New York City basketball. Any hope for any of these teams, including St. John's?
St. John's, the thing about that program is that they're not really committed to winning that much.
That's not good.
Yeah.
They don't get the players. They don't get the players.
They don't get the players. They don't get the New York City area players. They go
I
to
heard this
Seton
explained over the
Hall.
weekend.
Yeah.
You know what the reasoning was?
What?
That I don't know how I don't know exactly how the guy put it, but he had said, and thank you for the call, Charlie, we appreciate it. He had said players they don't want to play in their own backyard.
Yeah.
They'd rather go out and explore. And I forget the comparison he used, but it was a great comparison. I don't even know who the guy is. But I found it strange. They were talking about New York college basketball on Saturday afternoon. It was last Saturday afternoon. Mets just threw a combined no-hitter. Draft. NBA playoffs are going on. And yet we're talking about, New York basketball like the way they were. But anyway, yeah, that's how it was explained to me.
Interesting. I mean, it makes sense. Listen, I grew up just a Big East basketball fan,
Right.
college basketball, and I'm like that old guy on the lawn. Like, what's happened to it? Where's it gone?
non-existent.
It's just
I mean,
terrible.
Jay Wright retired. They're part of the Big East, Villanova.
Yeah.
So I think, I'm not saying this conference is dying out. It's just that, it's hard to convince a 16-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid to commit 2 years of their life playing basketball in a small Catholic school.
That's
Who
a good
wants to
point.
do that? It's kind of boring.
They want the big. If you're a big basketball star, phenom, you want to go down south, maybe
Yeah.
the big SEC schools, the ACC schools. Yeah, a lot of the schools in this area. I mean, we think of them very highly, and we're all fans of them. But they're not that appealing to college kids. To your point, Elijah.
Yeah.
Especially right here in this city.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Back to the NFL draft. You guys didn't say the team that I thought had the 5th best draft.
All right.
All right, so I agree. Jets, Giants, Ravens were number 1 for me. The Lions did a good job trading up and getting Williams, the receiver from Alabama. The Eagles.
Yeah.
I was thinking that.
I think the Eagles, I truly believe this. The Eagles won the division the other night. They won the division
I hate that.
with what they did.
Well, would you rather have them or Dallas? Because
I'd rather
Dallas, I felt like
Dallas.
really slid.
No, I'd rather have Dallas.
Dallas.
They never
I'd have Dallas.
they never went in the playoffs.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean you hate that?
I don't like either one.
You don't? Do you not agree with me, or you're
No,
just
I agree.
upset that they did such a great job and
Yes.
they are the favorite? Okay,
That's
okay,
why.
right. So they trade up to go get Jordan Davis, and it looked like they were trading up to try and get Jamison Williams from Alabama, but the Lions jumped in front of them
Yeah.
Yeah.
to the Vikings pick. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, I thought the Vikings had one of the worst drafts, but that's for another
Yeah.
discussion in a little bit. They go up, get Jordan Davis, a defensive tackle, the massive guy from Georgia, and then they trade their 18th pick and then a later round pick to go get A.J. Brown, one of the best young receivers in football. If he's healthy, he's a top 5 receiver in the game. They add a weapon for Jalen Hurts. They already have a great offensive line. I think they drafted well. They drafted one of the better centers in the draft to replace Jason Kelsey for next season. He's here for one more year, Kelsey. I thought they did an unbelievable job.
Yeah, I mean, they did. And look, I still think for some reason Dallas is going to find a way to win the division or at least be tied with each other with the Eagles just because we still don't know what the schedules are going to be yet for either of these teams. I mean, the schedule comes out.
We know the opponents, though.
Yeah, but I'm interested to see how the Eagles do this year because last season the Eagles played the easiest schedule in the NFL. They never beat a team over 500. So you're gonna see if you're gonna see what happens when there's pressure on them, when there's actually expectation on. Because last year there wasn't.
And by the way, we want to talk about their defense. They have 8 guys they can rotate in. Ready? The Eagles: Josh Sweat, Fletcher Cox, Jason Hargrave, Hassan Reddick, Brandon Graham, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, and Derek Barnett.
But some of the names,
That's some rotation.
Some of the names that you named are getting a little bit up there, like Fletcher Cox.
Yes, he is, but
But even then, you're asking him to play like more limited snaps. He's not going to be an every
Yeah.
down guy like he was before. So I guess it makes sense from that standpoint.
It's unbelievable what they have right now.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be a team that wins the division. I think Hurts will be able to take that next step. Good offensive line, better receivers, more guys will be open, less pressure on first-round pick Devonta Smith from last year.
Yeah.
And like I said, good defense, good O-line, good running game.
Yeah, it is.
I think this team's going to be dangerous next year. I think they win a division.
You hope there's no film on Jalen Hurts. That's all you hope for. Because remember, I'm just telling you, I know it's all about your personnel, but
Well, I'd watch him against Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
I would watch that Tampa Bay game and just do what Tampa Bay did.
yeah, it would stop the run and make him be.
I just do not believe in Jalen Hurts.
I don't believe him either.
I think he's a fine quarterback and you can win games with him. I just do not believe that he can take you anywhere.
Last 10 minutes here. Let's talk about the Jets quick, then we'll switch over to the Giants. The Jets, Ahmad Sauce Gardner with the 4th overall pick. Then at 10, they tried to trade for Deebo Samuel. Did not get him. Took, in my opinion, the best receiver in the draft, Garrett Wilson, out of the University of Ohio State. And then coming back at 26, the biggest surprise of the night for me, Jermaine Johnson falling that low. The Jets coming back into the first round, being aggressive, and nabbing him.
Yeah, and that's where
they won the draft.
That's where they won the draft.
Right there.
Yeah, they won it right there. I mean, Joe Douglas had an insane draft. He gave Zach Wilson weapons, and he helped the defense, which the defense was not good last year.
They've already added, and right, like you said, the defense was atrocious last season.
They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop the pass. They were just not good at all. At either side.
And listen, the expectations now for the Jets are being thrown through the roof because this is a very young team still in a conference that I've never seen before. A conference so loaded. So I've heard people say, oh, the Jets could finish in second or third place. No. I don't even think they're going to finish in third place. I think they're going to finish in last place. But it's going to be an improvement from last season. And by the way, if you are going to take a unprecedented step forward, it's going to be because your quarterback took an unprecedented step forward, like a Herbert type step, and I just don't see it next year.
I do think Wilson will improve. He didn't throw an interception in the last 5 games of last year, so you got to give him that. I know the pressure was off, but he was better in those games when he came off the injury. And, this is what I'll say. If they could win 6-7 games and Wilson looks really good, you take that.
Oh, that's a win.
That'd be a great season for them.
It's a great season. That's improving from 4 wins. And I do think Solid's going to even take a step forward, too, in coaching, just because I think year 1, I'm going to give him a B-. And I think next year you're going to see him be in the A.
I think that's fair. I mean, Salah, towards the end of last season, it didn't start that pretty, but towards the end of last season, you kind of saw the culture he was building starting to take form in the team.
The reason why I gave him a B- is because time management, those things.
Rookie coach, though.
Rookie head coach. That's why I'm giving him a pass, and that's why I realized he didn't have a lot to work with last year. And he had a lot of injuries, so that's why I gave him that. But look, he's going to coach this team hopefully for a long time. I think they have the head coach.
I think they have the head coach too. Joe Douglas traded back into early in the second round with the Giants actually, and took Breece Hall, the top running back in this class in the second round from Iowa State. So he's got 2 running backs now. They drafted the local kid, Jeremy Ruckert from Lindenhurst, which was really cool to see.
Nice.
My team in high school almost had to play him. And the year that we almost had to play him, he was a senior. And they won the Long Island Championship, Lindenhurst. And this kid, I'm telling you right now, he was scoring 3-4 touchdowns a game.
Yeah.
Jeez.
He was unbelievable. They won the Long Island Championship easily because of him. And, he's a New York Jet. They grew up a Jet fan. I don't know if you saw the video on TikTok and social media. It was great. So good for him.
That's a great story.
But the Jets now, just think about this. Last point on the Jets, they have 3 tight ends when they had basically 0 last year. They added another wide receiver. They have now 2 running backs, which they started the year with basically 0.
Yeah, 2 running
backs. And they added to the offensive line. This is a legit team now.
The Jets, and we brought up the Eagles, they did what they needed to do with Jalen Hurts and Zach Wilson, respectfully. You need to know what these guys are, because the quarterback crop in the next draft, the next draft class is pretty good. So you'd like to see these guys make strides, and you don't want to give them any excuses. Jalen Hurts has A.J. Brown now. Zach Wilson has the running backs and the tight ends, and Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson now. So you got to see. They got to perform.
And a fantastic segue there, because the New York Giants have done a lot now this offseason to put their quarterback into a situation in which it is really make or break it. The New York Giants, with their first pick, obviously Kayvon Thibodeau, defensive end from Oregon. He was very criticized off the field. Is he really all in on football? What's his attitude like? I don't buy any of that. Yeah. I think this guy is a legit football player, a fantastic defensive end, and going to be a star for years in New York. And then their next pick, which I don't think anybody could hate on, at number 7, Evan Neal, goes and grabs a right tackle now. You have Joe Shane in one offseason, I think. On paper right now, looks like he's rebuilt this offensive line.
Yeah, what did
you think of the draft, though, in general?
But it was. I mean, the Giants did great. I mean, the second round was not questionable. But I understand it, because you know what, you gotta give Jones weapons. Whether they are a reach, not a reach, it's still weapons. You still have to hope they work out.
Is that Wan'Dale Robinson?
Yeah, Wan'Dale Robinson from Kentucky.
5'8" guy, very, very fast.
Yeah, look, it's definitely a little bit of a reach, but you have to see what Jones is. I am still on the bus that they're taking a quarterback next year, just because they basically have given their hand, in the sense that they're not picking up Jones's option. That makes a lot of sense. You got to also assume that he stays healthy. I don't think he's going to stay healthy, because I've never seen it. And look, the guy that Evan Neal is blocking for, Bryce Young, I think that's the guy that's going to be a Giant.
Yeah, Giants fans, I know, a lot of them that I know certainly hope so. I mean, I made the joke last week that they have 2 bridge quarterbacks. So, I mean, you're not expecting... Again, it'd be nice. Again, like you said, Mike, Daniel Jones has a lot to succeed with if he wants to. If he does it. I mean, if he performs, then you see what you have in the offseason. But right now, it's not looking too shaky. And like you said, Ross, that's definitely Joe Shane's plan. The quarterback crop, I referenced it a little earlier. It's a lot better next year than it was this year. Yeah. So, yeah, and then overall for the Giants draft and Thibodeau, it's so like people just galaxy brain this draft stuff because of what Kayvon Thibodeau's attitude and his answer in interviews. And by the way, wasn't it Joe Shane that leaked that information out?
Yeah, that he said he had a bad interview. Yeah.
Like I don't know what it was, but I'm happy he's a Giant. How about that? I'm very happy.
You should be thrilled he's a Giant. He's made for the city.
He is. And by the way, the second round pick, I think honestly that was more of Mike Kafka, the offensive coordinator. Maybe he said to them, "Listen, I think we could do special things with this guy." Add another wide receiver. I don't think they trust Darius Slayton.
They don't
much at all. Sterling Shepard, you can't have trust.
Did you see him as like a Kadarius Toney replacement even?
No.
I don't think Tony's leaving.
Yeah, I don't think he's leaving.
No. I think that ship sailed after the draft.
I think that was, I don't know how much that was true. I believe that this is what I think happened. Pat Leonard, who was the only reporter, Giant beat writer, that actually said this was happening, I think he got word that the Giants were listening to trade offers, but they weren't going out there and actively trying to trade him. I don't see how they could have done that. But either way, I thought the Giants did a fantastic job overall. They drafted a couple of guards, drafted a corner. I think the Giants are going to surprise people. I think they're going to win more games than people expect this season. Their schedule is going to be very, very easy. If Jones stays healthy and this offensive line is rebuilt, I know a lot of ifs there, I think they win more games than we think. Not playoffs.
Yeah. Even then, with Daniel Jones, if he gets hurt, like we're saying, Tyrod Taylor's a very good backup that can win games.
Yeah, he's not a bad backup at all.
Let me ask you a question in this show. How many games do we think the Eagles are going to win last year? I said about 3 to 4. In a 17-game season, I said they were going to win 3 to 4 games. They won 9. Why? They had a terrible, terrible schedule. I mean, easy schedule. Terrible team.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for WHPC Sports Talk. For Joshua Umahi, Ross Levine, and Elijah Blain, I'm Michael Merlo. You're on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Have a fantastic day, everybody.